أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ثم الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه الأخيار أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We continue with our readings on the تصريف العزي Arabic Morphology. We are continuing with the الفعل المضارع من الناقص. I think in our previous lesson, we read on the al-mu'tallu lam. Yes, that is the third of the al-mu'tallat. It says al-mu'tallu lam, and so we are looking at the al-fi'l al-mudari min al-naqis. And we said the al-fi'l al-naqis is the one that has the last letter being a weak letter. So the mita, fa, ain, lam, the lam al-fi'l is a weak letter. So we call it mu'tallu lam or an-naqis, and the other names that we got in our previous lessons. So he says here, وَأَمَّا الْمُضَارِعُ, as for the mudari' of this an-naqis, فَتُسْكَنُ الْوَاوُ وَالْيَاءُ وَالْأَلِفُ مِنْهُ. Waw, yai, and alif that is in the wazn, we make it sakin. في الرفع, when it is marfu. وَتُحْذَفُ فِي الْجَزْمِ, and it is omitted or it is deleted in the jazm when it is majzoom. وَتُفْتَحُ الْوَاوُ وَالْيَاءُ فِي النَّصْبِ, the yai and waw at the end of the fi'l, we give it the fatha in case of nasb. Pay attention that he mentions waw and yai only. When it is mansub, the fatha shows clearly on them. وَتَثْبُتُ الْأَلِفُ فِي حَالِ النَّصْبِ كَمَا فِي الرَّفْعِ, and the alif in the case of nasb is just like it is in the case of ar-raf'. What does Sheikh means by this paragraph? He says that the alif, the waw, yai, and alif of the al-mu'tallu lam or the an-naqis in the mudara' tuskan, you make it sakin when it is marfu. So when I have a verb like jara, nama, okay, I have a verb like radiya, okay, verbs like that, radiya, sarwa. I have verbs like this, and I form the mudari'. At the end of the day, the mudari' will end with waw, alif, or yai, definitely. Yajri, yagzu, yamshi, stuff like that. So the alif, waw, yai at the end, in the case where the verb is marfu', that is why it is not preceded by any jazim or any nasib, you make it sakin, bimana you don't give it a vowel. So you say al-waladu yajri, al-waladu yas'a, al-waladu yabki. You don't say yabkiyu, yes, yes, you don't give it any vowel, you leave it sakin. Sakin bimana devoid of haraka, devoid of fatha, kasra, dhamma. So in the case of raf'u, the fi'l al-mudari an-naqis, the ending is left without any vowel. And in the case of jazm, tuhzafu, you take out that waw, yai, or alif. So whether it is yas'a, whether it is yagzu, whether it is yabki, yajri, the moment you bring the jazm, lam, or the moment the verbs in the case of jazm, you take out that ending weak letter. So yagzu becomes yagzu, yajri becomes yajri, yas'a becomes yas'a, without the ending weak letter. You take it out. Jamil. And then when the verb, the mudari an-naqis is ending with waw like yagzu, or is ending with yai like yajri, in the case of nasb, you bring the fatha and put it there. So you say yuridu an yagzuwa, yuridu an yagzuwa. You give it the fatha because it is ending with waw. When it is ending with yai, like yajri, you say يريد الولد أن يجري أن يجري لن يجري الولد لن يجري الولد يجري, because when it is mansub and it is الناقص but the weak letter at the end is waw or yai, then the fatha must show clearly. So in the case of raf'u, you leave the harakat, you leave the waw, alif, yai, you leave it sakin without any harakat. In the case of an-nazb, when the verb is ending with waw or yai, you give it the fatha clearly. Yani it becomes mansubun wa alamatu nasbihi al-fatha al-zahira when it is waw and yai. When it is alif, he says وَتَثْبُتُ الْأَلِف فِي حَالِ النَّزْبِ كَمَا فِي الرَّفْعِ. In the case of nazb, the alif stays as it was in the raf'u. So with the alif, you say لَن يَسْعَى Uridu an as'a. You leave the alif as it was in the arraf'u. Yani you leave it sakin without any vowel. Jamil. So in the case where it says فَتُسْكَنُ الْوَاوُ وَالْيَاءُ وَالْأَلِفُ مِنْهُ, yani he means فَتُسْكَنُ لَامُ الْفِعْلُ مِنْهُ. The lamul fi'l, that is why he mentions the waw, yai, and alif. He just with all these three representing the lamul fi'l, because when we talk about an-naqis, we are talking about the lamul fi'l being a weak letter. And then he says وَيُسْكِتُ الْجَازِمُ وَالنَّاصِبُ النُّونَاتِ سِوَى نُونِ جَمَاعَةِ الْمُؤَنَّثِ. These are the qawaid that we are supposed to capture in our mind. When you have a nasib or a jazm, yani adawatul jazm or adawatul nazb, yani you have something like allan, kayla, muta'alil, hatta, and all this stuff that are adawatul nazb, or you have lam, lamma, lamul amr, la an-nahiya, or any other jazm. The verb preceding the verb must be majzoom. What if the verb is ending with a noon, yani particularly al-af'alul khamsa, verbs that are conjugated to huma, antuma, hum, antum, and anti. Verbs conjugated to these five pronouns are called the al-af'alul khamsa, and they all end with noon. So you say huma yajriyani, antuma tajriyani, hum yajrun, antum tajrun. Then you say anti tajrina. Okay, anti tajrina. Jamil. Now, these kind of verbs that we call the al-af'alul khamsa, they all end with noon. And the noon is either preceded by alif, yani when you have it being the muthanna, huma and antuma. The noon that comes at the end is preceded by alif al-ithnain. And when you have hum and antum, the noon at the end is preceded by a waw. Also, when you have anti, the noon at the end is preceded by a yai. So we say the al-af'al al-khamsa is a fi'l mudari that is attached to alif al-ithnain, waw al-jama'a, or ya al-mukhataba al-mu'annatha. These verbs, the noon at the end, when the verb is majzoom or mansub, the noon will fall. So we say lan tanalu, lan tanalu. It was tanaluna. Say lam yanalu. They did not get. Lam yanalul murad. They did not get what they wanted. The noon wouldn't come. You say lam yanaluna. Okay. Likewise in the dual as well. Lam yanala. Lam tanala. You leave it on the alif al-ithnain, you don't bring the noon. Lam tanali anti. You say tanalina. Lam tanali. The noon goes off. So in the verbs that have noon at the end, when it is majzoom or mansub, the noon goes off. But then he gives a caveat here. He says, siwa noon al-jama'atil mu'annatha. Mu'annas. Noon al-jama'atil mu'annath. So when you have the noon of mu'annas, like hunna and tunna, and you conjugate a verb, they come there. Say, hunna yagzuna. Antunna tagzuna. Okay. The noon that comes at the end, you don't take it out when it is noon al-jama'at al-mu'annath, noon of the feminine, because that noon is a pronoun representing the fa'il. So you don't take it out. So that noon has to stay. So he'll give examples of he'll give us examples of that. Inshallah, then we will see how the noon comes. When such noon comes and it is majzum, you don't take it off. You just leave it as it is. Says fatakulu lam yagzu. Lam yagzu. See, the waw has fallen. Lam yagzuwa. Originally yagzuwani. So if you have a copy like mine, he starts with huwa, huma, hum, and then he comes to hiya, huma, and hunna, and then he comes to anta, antuma, antum. Then he will come to anti, antuma, antunna, and then he goes to ana, nahnu. That is the sequence of the pronouns. So you can mark it on the book if you have a copy like mine. So he says lam yagzu, lam yagzuwa, the noon goes off because it is conjugated to huma. Lam yagzu, the noon goes off because it is conjugated to hum. So originally yagzuna. Lam tagzu, yani here tagzu, the waw goes off. Lam tagzuwa, tagzuwani, yani, but the noon goes off because it is part of the af'al al-khamsa. Lam yagzuna, this is for hunna, and we told you that the hunna, the noon of jama'at al-inas, it doesn't fall off. So it says lam yagzuna, the noon stays as it is. Lam tagzu, lam tagzuwa, lam tagzu, lam tagzi, and anti tagzina, then it says lam tagzi, the noon goes off. And then we come to lam tagzu antuma, and then antunna, he says lam tagzuna, the noon comes, you don't take off the noon. Lam agzu, ana, lam nagzu, the waw falls off for both. Likewise, he goes to lam yarmi, lam yarmiya, the same arrangement of pronouns. Okay, huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna. Then he comes to anta, antuma, antum, like that. He goes with that sequence. Lam yarmi, lam yarmiya, lam yarmu, lam yarda, lam yardaya, lam yardaw, lam lan yagzuwa. Remember we said that when it is waw, the fatha, so it says lan yagzuwa. Lan yagzuwa, the noon falls off because it is for huma. So yagzuwani, then we say lan yagzuwa. Lan yarmiya, we said that yai as well, the fatha we showed. Lan yarda, lan yarda, with the alif he says tazbutu kama kana fil arrafu. Lan yarda. So in rafu it is yarda, in nazb it is yarda. Says وتثبت لام الفعل في فعل الاثنين وجماعة الإناث وتحذف من فعل جماعة الذكور وفعل الواحدة المخاطبة. So pay attention to the list that the لام الفعل تثبت, it stays في فعل الاثنين, in the verb of two. فعل الاثنين بمعنى huma antuma. وجماعة الإناث, and feminine plural. But this same لام الفعل تحذف من فعل جماعة الذكور, when you have the verb is conjugated to masculine plural, تحذف. وفعل الواحدة المخاطبة, and when the verb is conjugated to second person singular feminine, so anti. So look at it. He says that in the following pronouns, huma, antuma, the lamul fi'l stays. And then in hunna, antunna, the lamul fi'l stays. but the lam al-fi'l is omitted in hum, antum, jama'at al-zukur. And then in anti, the lam al-fi'l is omitted. Let's pay attention and follow duly and see if it is as Sheikh is claiming for us here. We have the same the sequence of pronouns. Huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna, anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna, ana, nahnu. The same sequence of pronouns. It says yagzu, yagzuwani, yagzuna. So we are expecting that in yagzuna, the lamul fi'l is omitted. Okay, so if the verb ghaza is fa'ala, then note that in the conjugation to the plural masculine, the lamul fi'l of fa'ala has been taken off. So let's say you have yagzuna. What is the meter or what waw are you seeing there? First of all, let's clarify that the waw that we are seeing in yagzuna is the waw al-jama'a, the waw that comes in yazhabuna, yakuluna. That waw is what you are seeing here, not the waw of yagzu. The waw of the yagzu is the lamul fi'l and it has been omitted. So originally the meter of the plural would have been yaf'aluna. Yaf'aluna. Okay, but in this case that the lam of yaf'aluna has been taken off, we have yaf'una. There is no lam in the meter. Yaf'una. Okay, let's go. Tagzu, tagzuwani, yagzuna as well. Yagzuna is for the hunna. With the hunna, jama'at al-inas, we are told that the lamul fi'l is there. So in the yagzuna, even though it is the same as the hum, I hope you're paying attention with the pronouns. So if you can, write the pronouns on top of the verbs. So on top of yagzu, write huwa. Yagzuwani, write huma. Yagzuna, write hum. Tagzu, hiya. Tagzuwani, huma. Yagzuna, hunna. Write the pronouns as I said on top of them so that you get it clearly. So you see yagzu, yagzuwani, yagzuna. Tagzu, tagzuwani, yagzuna again. So we have hum, yagzuna, hunna, yagzuna. The difference is that in the yagzuna of jama'at al-zukur, the plural, the waw there is the waw al-jama'a. And when you come to hunna, yagzuna, the waw in yagzuna of hunna is the lamul fi'l. So in the jama'at al-inas, that lamul fi'l mathbuta, the lamul fi'l is there. So in that case, you have the meter of yagzuna being yaf'ulna. The meter of hum yagzuna was yaf'una. But when you come to hunna, you say hunna yaf'ulna. The meter, the lam is still in the meter. And then you come to tagzu, anta, tagzuwani, antuma, tagzuna, antum, tagzina, anti as well. We said the lamul fi'l will fall off. So the meter of tagzina is taf'ina. There is no lam in the meter. The ya we are seeing there is the ya'ul mukhataba al-mu'annatha. Jamil. Then we have tagzuwani, tagzuna, antunna. Agzu, nagzu. So you know that you realize that when you are conjugating to hum, yagzuna, the waw there is the waw al-jama'at al-zukur, and so it's not the lam al-fi'l. When you come to hunna yagzuna, the waw there is the lam al-fi'l. Anti tagzina, the lam al-fi'l is not there. Antunna tagzuna, the waw there is not waw jama'at al-zukur, is for antunna. So the waw there is the lam al-fi'l of yagzu, gaza yagzu. Jamil. It requires us to look at it very well. So that's why I require you to write the pronouns on top of it. It says وَيَسْتَوِي فِيهِ لَفْظُ جَمَاعَةِ الذُّكُورِ وَالْإِنَاثِ في الخطاب والغيبة جميعا. In the فعل المضارع الناقص that ends with واو، فعل المضارع الناقص that ends with واو، أو فعل المضارع المعتل اللام الواوي. The فعل المضارع that ends with واو. In this kind of verb, the jama'atu dhukur and the inath are the same في الخطاب والغيبة. And so the jama'atu dhukur في الخطاب, that is second person, is antum, and the jama'atu inath في الخطاب is antunna. جميل. The jama'atu dhukur في الغيبة, third person, is hum. The jama'atu inath في الغيبة is hunna. And he says these two in the verb that ends with waw, fi'l mudari that ends with waw, the two are the same. Let's go and look at it. Go back again to the one we just read. We read hum yagzuna. Okay, come to hunna. Hunna yagzuna. Then you go forward to antum. You see antum tagzuna. Then go again to antunna. You see antunna tagzuna. So they are the same. But what is the difference? He says وَيَخْتَلِفُ التَّقْدِيرُ. It is the taqdeer. Yani what is the taqdeer that he means here? It is what is hidden in there, the meters. Because with the jama'at al-dhukur, the waw you are seeing is the waw al-fa'il, the waw that refers to jama'at al-dhukur, not the lam al-fa'il. But when you come to the jama'at al-inas, the waw you are seeing is the lam al-fa'il. So the meter differs, but when you see them like this on the surface, they are all the same. Jamil. So it says فَوَزْنُ جَمْءِ الذُّكُورِ يَفْعُونَ, as we did, and the wazn of the jama'at al-dhukur or jam' al-dhukur is the yaf'una. Yaf'una is for whom, so you can write it there. And then taf'una for antum. Then you come to the jam' al-mu'annath. The hunna becomes yaf'ulna, as we saw yagzuna is yaf'ulna there. So it becomes the hunna becomes yaf'ulna, and then the antunna becomes taf'ulna. So even though when you have the fi'l mudari and naqis al-wawi, they will sound the same. It will sound the same for whom and hunna, and antum and antunna will sound the same, but the taqdeer, which is the meter, differs. Jamil. Now we look at, that is the waw one. We look at the yai. Says watakulu yarmi, yarmiyani, yarmuna. Tarmi, tarmiyani, yarmina. Tarmi, tarmiyani, tarmuna, like that to the end. And it is the same sequence of pronouns. Hum, huma, hum, huwa, huma, hum, and then hiya, huma, hunna, anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antuma, antum, and then you have antunna, afwan, and then you have ana, nahnu. Jamil. Says wa aslu yarmuna, yarmiyuna, فَفُعِلَ بِهِ مَا فُعِلَ بِرَضُوا. So when you look at the huwa, it is yarmi, huma yarmiyani, and then you come to whom, it is yarmuna. Where is the lamul fail? It has been taken off. It would have been yarmiyuna. That's like yarmiyani, yarmiyuna. But the haraka of the yai, you can write yarmiyuna. Sarf is very practical, so I would want you to write yarmiyuna. Originally, this is how it should be. Yarmiyuna. And then the haraka of the yai, nukila ila mim. So it becomes yarmu, then the waw mahzuf, comes yarmuna. Jamil. وهكذا حكم كل ما كان ما قبل لامه مكسور. So any mudari and naqis, now you realize that before the lamul fail is kasra, that is the lamul fail is yai. This is how it is conjugated. Like for example, yuhdi, yunaji, يرتجي, ينبري, يستدعي, يرعوي, يعروري. He uses other awzan. So you can try conjugating these ones. Yunaji bimana having a confidential talk with somebody. Ana unajike bimana I'm having a confidential talk with you. Yartaji bimana to have some hope, to have raja. Okay, to have hope. Yambari bimana to confront or to take up something, to do something. Jamil. Yastadi, as we know, to cause for something, to demand. And then yar'awi, to desist from something or to repent. Then we have ya'arawri. Ya'arawri is to ride a horse or ride an animal naked. Jamil. Says watakulu, that is that for the conjugation of the ones that end with yai. Says takulu yarda, yardayani, yardawna, tarda, tardayani. Same arrangement of pronouns. Jamil. Says وهكذا قياس كل ما كان ما قبل لامه مفتوحا. Any verb that before the lam al-fi'l is maftuh, that is the ending is alif, the conjugation goes like this. Nahu yatamatta. Yatamatta is to swagger. Okay, to walk with swagger, that is tamatta. Or to stretch one's body, tamatta. That is also part of its meaning. And then yatasaba also comes with the meaning of أن تتعامل أو أن تفعل أو تتحرك كأنك صبي. جميل. أن تميل إلى الصبيان, to act like if you are a صبي, you are a child. That is تتصابى. يتصابى, تتصابى, أتصابى, to act like a صبي. That comes in. يتصابى as well comes to allure or to seduce somebody. Jamil. Yatasadda, to take up, to do something. It shares meaning with the yambari. They share the same meaning. And then tasadda also comes with to confront somebody. And to jabiha ahadan. And then yataqalsa, to wear a qalanswa, a cap, a head garment. Qalanswa, that cap they put on, that is yataqalsa, bimana yartadi qalanswa. Jamil. Then it says وَلَفْظُ الْوَاحِدَةِ الْمُؤَنَّثَةِ فِي الْخِطَابِ كَلَفْظِ الْجَمْعِ الْمُؤَنَّثِ في بابي يرمي ويرضى. When you look at the فعل مضارع الناقص that has yai at the end, فعل مضارع الناقص that has alif at the end, you realize that the conjugation for anti comes the same as the conjugation for antunna in these two awzan. Though the meter differs, Jamil, and we come to see the meter. So let's go back and see for anti and antunna. You look at the yermi coming down, look for anti, you see anti termina. Okay, then you come to antunna, you see termina. Come down to the yarda. Yarda as well, you look for anti, you see tarda. And then antunna, you see tardayna. So the antunna and the anti, they are both the same meters. You see anti tardayna, afwan. I looked at the anti tardayna and then antunna tardayna. You realize that they are the same. But of course the meters differ. How do the meter differ? The anti requires a ya'ul mukhataba al mu'annasa. So the ya you are seeing in anti is ya'ul mukhataba al mu'annasa. But the ya you are seeing in the antunna, that is the lamul fi'l. So if you look at the meters, that's what taqdir mukhtalif. The meter of course differs. For wazunul wahidati, the meter for anti is the like the termina we saw. The meter is taf'ina. The lamul fi'l is not there. And then when you look at antunna, you say taf'ilna. Taf'ilna, even though it will also sound termina. So taf'ina will end up sounding termina, taf'ilna will also sound termina. But then you know that the meter is the one that differs. And then you come to the anti again for you see taf'ina, taf'aina, afwan for the fatha. You see taf'aina like tardayna. And then when you come to the jama'at al-mu'annath or jama' al-mu'annas, you see tardayna. Tardayna ala wazn taf'alna. So the lam al-fi'l shows in the jama'at al-inas or jama'at al-mu'annas, jam' al-mu'annas, and then when you come to the anti, the lam al-fi'l does not show. But at the end of the day, the wazn would come difference. The sound will sound the same, the verb will sound the same, but the wazn will differ. Jamil, aywa. And then quickly, just to round it up, you look at the al-amru min al-naqis. The fi'l al-amr of the naqis is nothing too weird. It's just that, as we said, you find the majzoom of the verb, take out the harf al-mudara'a, and then bring alif to form your fi'l al-amr. Says ugzu, ugzuwa, ugzu, igzi, ugzuwa, like that to the end. Where you need to pay attention is فَإِذَا أَدْخَلْتَ عَلَيْهِ نُونَ التَّوْكِيد. The moment you add noon al-tawkid to the verb, you have to bring back the lam al-fi'l. You have to bring back the lam al-fi'l that you took off because it is majzoom. And we said that the majzoom, you take out the, whether it is waw ending, alif ending, or yai ending. If it is majzoom, you drop the harf al-illa. But the moment you bring the noon al-tawkid in the amr, you bring back that lam. وُعِيدَتِ اللَّامُ الْمَحْذُوفَةُ فَقُلْتَ اغزوان اغزواني, and then irmiyanna irmiyani, ardayanna irdayani. Jamil. So this is just the al-amr min al-naqis, nothing complicated, just the qaida for forming fi'l amr. When you form the majzoom of the verb, then you take out the harf al-mudara, bring alif to replace it. Just that in the case where you want to form the fi'l amr with a noon al-tawkid, noon of emphasis, you bring back the lam al-fi'l that you took off, and then you form your fi'l al-mudari. You form your fi'l al-amr min al-naqis al-mu'akkad. Jamil. Okay, let's do well to look through very well, ask the questions that are needed. The moment we realize that there is something we don't understand, we should ask the question. Of course, Sarf should be on board with clarification, but then my system does not allow for that now. Inshallah, in later series of Sarf, you will do well to write everything and make sure everything is very clear. Till we meet again, have a very good Arabic time. Don't forget to revise and don't forget to practice Arabic as much as you can. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.